Hey y'all, my name is Ashley and today I'm going to be doing two looks with the new Glaminatrix Old Soul palette. So if you want to see how I got this first look and then see my second more bolder look, then keep on watching. All right, so I know that I just uploaded my makeup wish list yesterday, but that was pre-filmed. I filmed that like a little over a week ago, like maybe just under 2 weeks ago. But I did place an order to Glaminatrix and I did get the Old Soul palette. And I did say in that video that I will be getting this, like this is a palette I definitely will be buying because I am a newly fan of the brand. I really do enjoy it. So I could not help myself when they came out with like a grungier, kind of like deep, dark-ish kind of color story that I had to get my hands on it. So when they like showed this palette on Instagram before it even launched, they talked about how this palette is going to be in a series of 12 other palettes. And knowing me, I'll probably end up buying all 12 because I do like my collection to be complete, kind of like the Little Mermaid, okay? So this is the outside packaging. I am slightly disappointed because all the other palettes I have from Glaminatrix are like the faux leather kind of packaging, and I really like that packaging because it does feel luxe. This packaging is really cute, but I do prefer the packaging of the other palettes that I own. Now, I'm gonna quickly take all of the discs off the shades real quick. I do love that though. Those little white foam discs were all on the shimmer and metallic shades to kind of protect them in shipping. And I have not yet even touched this palette, but this color story is absolutely gorgeous. I definitely see myself getting a lot of use out of it, even though it is a little neutral. It's very cool toned, but I also see myself using this a lot in the fall because it has a few of those darker, vampier shades that I absolutely love. I love a good burgundy. Now this palette is a little pricey. It is $69. And I know for me, $69 is actually a great price for this. I can't say a great price for this because I'm basing it on what I know about Glaminatrix and the palettes that I've tried. But to me, the palettes I have tried from Glaminatrix, I feel like $69 is justified when it comes to their price point. Now I also, where did it go? It also came with a coin. So I haven't quite figured out what I'm gonna do with my coin. I do have like a little cork board set up above my work desk, and I kind of like pin little things, like rather it's like, you know, decorative pins that you kind of collect that you can kind of put on your hats or your clothes or your purses. I have those pushed into the board, and just other things that come with, like I have little postcards for makeup collections on that board as well. So that's kind of like where I kind of keep all of that stuff, but I don't think I can pin this to my board because it's metal. So I'll have to figure it out, but it is really cute that it came with like a nice metal coin here. Now I have to figure out what kind of color story I want to go for. I really want to dive into like the burgundy shade. Like that is what I want to go into because that is one of my favorite shades to play with. But I think recently I just filmed a look that I had a little bit of burgundy going on, so I want to try something a little different. But I am priming my eyes with the Pat McGrath Labs Intensifies Eye Primer because I will be playing with some shimmers, and this is a great primer to make those shimmers really like pop and sparkle and shine and stay on the lid. All right, I want to start off a little light and airy. So I'm going to use the shade Kindred right here. It's just a very pastel rose shade. It'll be great for the crease and then to kind of lay other shades on top. But I also can't go too bold because this evening my son is in a musical for a school. So I'm going to be going up to the school to watch him perform in his musical. I think it's like country themed. I feel like everything's country themed right now. Just because I think it's trending, but I talk about that in a video that I'm going to be posting later this week. But that's also kind of my kids' school theme for the year. Like all the dances were country themed because they always do like a mother-son dance and a father-daughter dance, and both of those were country themed. And then like their school shirts this year for their school, like they had boots on it and all of that. So I think it's just trending. But they're doing a little Western musical. And my poor little one, he is very shy. So he's like, for the past week, he didn't tell me how he's like nervous and he's a little scared. I was like, it's okay, buddy. Like you'll be up there with everyone else in your class and then other classes. So there's nothing to be worried about. but it is so cute. He's got his little boots, he's got his hat, he's got a country belt with a big old buckle on it. And then all week he's been wanting to listen to Morgan Wallen. So I'm like, are you guys singing Morgan Wallen? I feel like that's not something you would sing at a school musical. So I think I'm just gonna take that shade Kindred and put it all in my crease and then kind of really pack it on in the inner corner of my eye as well. I really like this shade. This is a great neutral shade that has like a little bit of color in it. But this shade's great to blend all these other shades in. It's gonna be a great transition shade. So I really wanna play with the shade Echo, but I don't wanna make it like the main part of my look. So I'm actually gonna just take a little bit of the shade Echo and put it in my outer corner. This is the type of color I like, where it's kind of like purple, but it's also red. And it's just deep and vampy. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that and just put it on my inner corner and then blend it out towards the center of my lid and up into the crease, but just a smidge, just a tiny, tiny bit. And look how easy that blends. I'm like barely putting any pressure. I'm just lightly dusting it up and over, and it's just such a beautiful blend. I want to get a little bit more because I want more on the lid. Now I'm going back into Kindred, and I'm going to use that to buff into that shade Echo, so it's nice and blended, but use that for the entirety of my crease. So there's like some gorgeous shimmers and metallics in this palette. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch the shade Keepsake. It's like a gunmetal gray. Oh, that is gorgeous. Look at that. So I'm on the fence on using that shade. I'm trying to pick out my shimmer so that way I can finish out the mattes. So that's like my thought process right now. This is the shade Still, which this is a multi-chrome for sure. And this has got a bit of a purple to it, but also kind of like an icy blue. So this is the shade Still. It's like silver, blue, and purple. That is gorgeous. And then the other shade, because I'm thinking a little bit more on the cool tone side because my jewelry is silver. And I recently played with a lot of golds, so I'm trying not to play with the golds, even though I really want to play with the golds, but I try to do something different every time. Swatch the shade Whisper. Oh, and that's like super icy. So that's this shade right here. Look at that. So I think I'm gonna start with the gunmetal gray shade, and then maybe also use the shade Whisper with it. Or I could even use Still. So I'm definitely gonna use Keepsake. And I'm gonna place that on the center of my lid. And I'm just gonna go ahead and use my finger to start, and then go ahead and switch to a silicone brush to get my precision. Oh, wow. These are the type of shades that stand out for me when it comes to these Glaminatrix palettes, and why I really like them. It's just like so metallic, but it also looks wet. So I'm gonna take a little bit on the silicone brush, and I'm gonna use it to have a nice clean line, because that's what I like. So I have like this gap right here where I laid down the shade Echo, and then I have my shimmer. Now I could continue with the shimmer, but what I'm gonna do is actually take that shade Echo and fill it in this gap, and then take the shade Relic, which is the black in this palette, and use it to darken just a smidge of my outer corner. So I guess I get what I want. I get to put more of this purple shade on. But I feel like Keepsake and Echo look really nice together. Just look how gorgeous that is. That is a beautiful combination, and I really like it. Okay, so now I'm gonna take a little bit of Relic. So that is going to be the matte black in this palette. So it's this shade right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just put it like a little dab in the outer corner just to add depth and dimension to my look. And even though I'm probably gonna use black liner today, I don't think a brown is gonna be the way to go. Yeah, I'm gonna use a black liner. So I wanna blend my outer corner out real quick. I got a little bit of glitter where I don't want it to be. So I'm gonna take my loose translucent powder and just a fluffy brush with no shadow on it, and kind of use it to blend it and try to get some of that glitter off. And that's kind of my fault because I was kind of blending on top of the metallic. And so obviously at that point your shadows are gonna kind of mix there, but I wanna try to get some of it off. It doesn't look bad, it's just like, I want it to be matte on the outer corner and not sparkly. I'm gonna take the spongy side of this brush, and I'm gonna kind of use it to blend Keepsake into Echo, so it's not a harsh line there. So the inner corner, I could go with one of these two shades. So I was thinking that, but I also want to quickly swatch Remnant. So that is another shade in this palette. It's kind of rose goldy. And I feel like that would really go with it as well. So I'm actually going to use the shade Remnant. And that one I'm just going to apply with my silicone brush because I am not going to be able to get in there at all. Now I'm going to take a little bit more Remnant and use it to blend the two metallics together. So that way they kind of look cohesive. Gosh, these are gorgeous. Okay, so I'm going to put a liner on and do the other eye. So that way we can get to underneath my eyes as well. I have no idea. Look, you see how nice my blush looks on this side of my face, right? And I go over here and it's the same blush and it's patchy. It is what it is. I'm gonna ignore it. It could be because I have like a massive pimple growing over there, but who knows? I tried to fix it the best I can. But I'm gonna go ahead and do the under eyes. And for the under eyes, I wanna go ahead and start off with the shade Echo. So that dark purpley red shade again. And I'm just gonna put that in the outer corner. That way when I put my liner on, I'm gonna blend it. It's gonna look really nice all put together. And then I think when I started this video, I wasn't gonna do 2 looks. I was just gonna do like 1 look, here's the palette. But I am gonna do a second look and I'm just think a little bit more bolder because I'm able to film that tomorrow and not really have anywhere to be. Because, not that I'm like self-conscious if I do a bold look. It's just like, you know, I'm going to the school and stuff. Like, I don't need other parents to look at me funny, to be honest. So, and when I see other parents, I mean other moms. Because that's a whole other story on how I don't really get along. It's not that I don't get along with other moms. I just have a hard time making friends with them, I guess. So, and then I'm going to do glitter. I've been enjoying glitter under my eyes lately. So I want to start off with the shade Remnant because that is the shade we used. And then I'm going to use another one. So Remnant's like that rose goldy shade. I'm going to place that in the inner corner and bring that about 1/3 of my eye. So then the center is left open for a different shade. And I'm just going to apply that with the silicone brush. So the other shade I want to use is, I want to swatch this first. This is the shade Timekeeper. And this is the shade that's like on the top row in between the shade Kindred and Echo. And this, man, I can't even tell what color that is. It's like rose gold, but not as bold. It's like a little bit lighter. So I was thinking about doing that shade or Candlelight. So this is Candlelight. And this one's a little bit more of like a pale gold. So this is Candlelight. Oh gosh, that is so shiny. That is gorgeous. And then this is the shade Timekeeper. So I'm actually going to use the shade Candlelight. Timekeeper is a little bit cooler than I was anticipating when I swatched it. In the pan, it looks like it's darker than the shade Remnant, but it's not. So it's like a little bit more of a, I wouldn't say like a topper. Well, it's a little bit more of a topper, but then it also has a shift to it. And that shift's got, it is pink, but there's a little bit of blue in there. And so I'm not really feeling the blues with this look. So I'm taking Candlelight, which is going to be the more golden shade. All right, so this is going to be my first look. I was really simple with my lips and I went ahead and used the CoverGirl Outlast lip stain in the shade Jazzberry. And then I also went ahead and used the Fui Cherry Cola 3D lip gloss. Love this combination. I talked about that in my February favorites, but let's go ahead and jump into the second look. Okay, y'all, so right here, I totally forgot to turn my mic on. So I drew on some graphic liner using the Melt Cosmetics Ultra Matte liner in the shade Onyx. Now, before I started playing with the shadow, I swatched some of the shimmers that I wanted to use, including the shade Still, which has a beautiful multi-chrome finish with like gunmetal gray, purple, blue. And then I swatched the shade Whisper, which is like an icy white with green blue shifts inside of it. Now you can see both of them swatched. They're so wet, so shiny, and just so beautiful next to each other. Now, as always, I went ahead and primed my eyelids with the Pat McGrath Labs Intensifies Artistry Wand. This is the primer I've been liking for my eyes, especially if I'm gonna be playing with the shifty shades and the multi-chromes. I really want those shades to stand out. This primer does it. Now I'm going to be applying the shade Relic, which is the matte black, in the inner corner, and just like a little bit. Now I'm gonna add the gray shade Revere, which is a matte smoky gray, in my outer corner, and I'm gonna smoke it in between my two eyeliners. Now I'm gonna use the shade Still, pop that in the middle of my eyelid, and that is the duochrome with like the purple blue shifts, kind of gunmetal gray, and use a silicone brush for precise application. And the next shade I'm gonna apply is Whisper. The other duochrome I swatched with the icy white and the green blue shifts. I'm gonna put that in the inner corner and above, a little above my second liner. Now I'm gonna use the shade Flicker, which is like a cool toned nude. I'm gonna use it above my liner. And finally, I'm gonna use the Kosas Loose Setting Powder and Translucent Candy to blend and smooth everything out above my lid. All right, y'all, my brilliant ass forgot to turn off my mic, but I turned it on now. So obviously I had to voice over the first part, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the under eyes. I wanna keep it like this glamorous, like over the top look. So I am gonna start off with the shade Relic. So I am gonna start off with the black, and I'm gonna go ahead and smoke out the entirety of my bottom lash line. So I'm just gonna go from the inner corner all the way to my outer corner, smoking this out. And I was like so disappointed that I forgot to turn my mic on, because I was like, I'm really proud of the look that I have put on so far. And I was like, I could refilm it, but then like, really don't have time to. So I'm gonna do what I can do, and I will voice over it the best I can. I've never really done a voiceover, so hopefully it comes out pretty well. Okay, so now that I've got my black under eye, I'm gonna go ahead and take a somewhat-ish fluffy brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and buff that out. So there's no pigment, nothing on this, and I'm just gonna use it to kind of smoke out the bottom lash line, so it's nice and blended and looks a little bit better than just a solid black line. Now I want to go ahead and continue with the shade Whisper. So that is the shade that I went ahead and put on my inner corner and a little bit above my top line. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of that and bring it down below as well. And I'm going to take it on my silicone brush. So got that on there, and I'm just going to really pack that shade on. Then I'm gonna use the spongy side to blend it so it's not so harsh. And I'm gonna take it, I think, a little bit further in as well, because I really like the way that this shade looks on top of black. And I'm gonna blend it down. It's like a disco ball on my eyes. I absolutely love this. So I thought about adding some rhinestones to this look, but I kind of just like the way that it looks on its own. So I'm gonna go ahead and put on some mascara and some eyeliner, and then I will be right back. So here is my final look, but let me know in the comments down below which look you like better. I definitely think, for me, I like this second look a lot better. Yeah, it took me a little bit longer, and then with the graphic liner, so I'd have a little bit more time on my hands, but I think it looks absolutely amazing. I feel like a disco ball is the best way to explain it. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe, and until next time, bye y'all.